Hey guys, before this video begins, I just want to give you guys another reminder that tomorrow, August 17th at 8 o'clock Central Time is going to be when my Chopped episode is going to be airing. So if you guys are going to be tuning in, make sure you like this video, and in a future video, we'll be talking about more about that episode that was on. But here we go, and we'll get into this video. Hey guys, welcome back to another barbecue talk. On this episode, we'll talk about why I don't really mention specific temperatures. So for this barbecue talk, this is something I've kind of talked about, sporadically throughout different videos and re-emphasize this point, but I also wanted to make a specific video that answers this question a little more specifically, a little more clearly. That way, if other people ask me this question, I can direct them to just this video. So other thing I want to mention is that I do read comments from you guys, so if you do leave questions on certain videos and things like that, usually if it's a quick answer, I'll answer in the comments, or there are certain people who I might message directly, and then other times, I'll take that content or that question and make them into video like I am now. So I just want to mention briefly to one of my newest subscribers. This is John Schultz. So John had recently started watching my videos, so thanks so much. So before you get this video, I like to say if you guys like what you see, make sure you like, subscribe, share this video with your friends, and comment down below. But here we go. So John had two questions, and so I'm going to start with the first one. He said, what kind of smoker do you have at home? Looks like an old country. So I talked about this a little bit, and because I usually just call it my backyard pit. It's a Yoder, and especially it's a Yoder Kingman, which is kind of like one of the larger backyard, the largest size for the backyard pits. It works great. So now I want to address John Schultz's second question. He said, I just started watching your videos. I usually watch Jeremy Yoder. Shout out Jeremy Yoder. I noticed that you never really say what temperature you do your cooks at, and why is that for people that are beginning? That is really helpful. So John, thank you for that question as well. You're not the first person to ask that question. Again, I usually just kind of answer people directly, but I feel like I've been getting that question a lot more lately, and so I wanted to kind of explain it fully. I don't like giving someone very, very specific instructions on how to cook in terms of temp wise, unless like we are actually working on your pit and we know kind of like the hot spots, the cool spots, how well your smoker pulls, what kind of wood you're working with, because just reading the thermometer itself really doesn't give you an indication of all those different types of things. Now, a lot of stuff that I talk about, and I've said this in other videos that I'm gonna edit in the future, but a lot of things that I talk about, it's not very scientific. It's mostly kind of based off of what I've seen, what I know, what I've experienced, and all that kind of stuff. So I want to call it like my bro science of barbecue. Just like guys who go to the gym who don't really fully understand what's really going on with the body. But for that reason, that's why I don't really like giving finite details about what temperature you should be cooking on. I'm cooking on my specific pit. I know a lot of people cook on Weber Smoky Mountains where, again, or green eggs or ceramics and things like that, where the heat's coming from the bottom, which means the airflow is a little bit different. The way that the heat is retained, the way that the heat is flowing throughout the entire design of that pit, and even the location of the thermometer itself is going to be different, and it's going to, 250 is not exactly 250, like from one pit to the next. It's more so about you knowing how your pit is actually cooking and finding a range of temperatures of basically what is kind of it's too cool, your safe zone, and what is too hot. So for my particular pit, my backyard, if I'm cooking a brisket or ribs, I would say anything lower than 250 is too cool. But that's also because the way that I'm cooking, I want a little bit more color, I want a little more smoke, and my fire is a little bit smokier and a little bit dirtier. So I try to burn an extra log in there, so it tends to be a little bit hotter. And because I have an extra log in there, it tends to be a little bit smokier. I've talked about it, I think, in my rib video too, where there's kind of like a 6 to 8 inch kind of like no man's land where it's too hot. Again, if you're getting stuff that's close to that side, obviously probably 300 would be too hot if you have something up front there. If I got things that are squeezed towards the back, 300 for me is fine, even early in the cook for a brisket. As long as you trim it right, as long as you're kind of checking on every now and then to make sure nothing's getting too burnt or too crispy. And, you know, if you notice that, then you start adjusting the temperatures, and you're really trying to figure out how do you want your whatever to come out and what temperature is best for your pit. I'm not trying to be vague. I'm not trying to, you know, hide secrets or whatnot. Just to give you an idea, I'm gonna go through every single pit that I've cooked briskets on during my time from 2018 till now, and I'll give you an idea of what I'm talking about when I say not all smokers are the same. At Terry Black's, we have 5 pits, and we call them pit number 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And so, you know, with pit 1, that one, I feel like you can keep it at, you know, 150 to 160 for majority of the cook, and then you can bump it up to 285 and finish at 300, and it's perfectly fine. Pit number 2, at the time when I was there, we couldn't start it at 250 because it needed it pulled too clean at that time, and we would get a good bark, but it would take forever to cook. So we would bump it up to 275, then it would go up to 285, and then we finish at 315, maybe sometimes 325. On pit number 3, it wasn't the best firebox, so we had to add more. We had to add more wood in there. It would get a little bit too smoky, so we had to readjust the wood. And so, like, even though the temps were basically the same as pit number 1, we had to make sure that the way that we stacked the wood was super clean, because if we didn't, it wouldn't draw the same. Pit number 4, that pit, very good, but really hot up front. We had to be very careful about not letting it go above 275 until we rotated briskets or until they shrunk, because the temp's still fine, but it draws too much, so the front half is too hot. Pit number 5, that one, similar to pit number 1, you can still cook hotter on. But for some reason on that firebox, if you don't push, if that wood pile is too close to the firebox and not closer towards the exchange, then it just doesn't pull. So a lot of times we have guys who are like, man, it's not getting up there, and they have like 8, 10, 12 logs in there. And I told them, did you try pushing it back a little bit? And then so we you know, take our poker and we push that fire back about 3 inches, and it just starts pulling. And then we have to start taking logs out, because the only difference with that one is it cooks pretty even from end to end, but you have to push that wood back a little bit more for it to pull. At Truth, again, we didn't have pit names. It was pit number 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Pit 1 and pit 5, I think, were our best brisket pits. Pit 4 cooked too hot, so that's where we did majority of our pork ribs and our beef ribs. Pit 3 at the time was our worst brisket pit, so we would try to do beef ribs on there if we needed to, so overflow we could put somewhere else. The 1,000-gallon and Brenham was actually pretty good, because we were trying to figure out what we were doing wrong in Houston, but then we realized it was the pit room itself at that time that we just weren't getting enough air for it to work. So none of the pits were really cooking as best as they could. Now they got it dialed in, they got everything figured out, the food looks amazing. Now we get to Leroy and Lewis, and now I'm cooking on you know, a pit that Evan and his dad and Brad kind of fixed up, and it's a 500. That one, you know, it's basically the same design as any other pit that you've seen, but, you know, the front end, because the doors doesn't close all the way super tight, so it's a cool spot, so it's perfect for the burgers and the sausage, while they can throw the barb and the brisket and everything else closer to the back, and it works great. So what's my point in saying all this? It's the fact that none of our pits are exactly the same. I can't tell you that this particular temp is going to work for you, because then I'll get a bunch of comments saying, Joe, I did those exact temperatures and I held it to a T, and, you know, my brisket took forever, or like the fat didn't render enough, or it burnt up to a crisp, or it's dry, and all that kind of stuff. That would probably be the correct response if I gave you guys a definite answer of what temperatures you should be cooking at. And that's why I don't do it.
in order for you to get good at barbecue, it's not about, you know, the type of smoker that you have. It's the person. It's you who has to figure out all these things to know what temperature is right, what do you like, and how you want to cook it. Say it all the time off of preference. But again, I feel like there are a lot of people who are coming to this YouTube channel who are fairly new and maybe haven't seen my old videos where I've talked about this and that, not so specifically, but I've kind of sprinkled it in throughout like my other cooking videos. But this one, I just want to be very upfront and say, here it is. So I hope that helps, guys. I know, again, I didn't answer specific questions about temps and times and things like that, but it really does require you to do the work. I love barbecue. People ask me all the time, can I get restaurant quality barbecue, or can I really get restaurant quality barbecue in my backyard? I'm like, yeah, I think so. And in all honesty, I think I make the best food I can out of my backyard than anywhere else, just because I know that pit better than any other pit that I've worked on. You know, again, like I said earlier in the video, I do read all your guys' comments, and I do appreciate those of you who do comment, and it does allow me to even personally see some of my own videos pop up on recommended stuff, which is really cool. And it's usually the videos that gets the most interaction. Hope that, you know, this video is something that you find helpful and useful. Hopefully you guys comment down below. Hopefully you guys check out all the other videos that I've done. Watch them, leave other questions, other comments, get other people to watch these videos as well, so we can kind of grow this channel and get more barbecue knowledge out there. But thank you guys so much, and again, make sure you like, subscribe, share this video with your friends, and if you have any questions, leave them down below. I'll see you guys in the next one.